Cheerdance competition. Like you had to dress up and everything, and I don't know, but like it's like there's another level of energy that comes to the courtside reporters when they have to introduce their
Yeah.
team. So could you, I guess, tell us about the
Next
preparation, the
next
experience?
question na lang, next question.
What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another episode of the Sports Season podcast. And more than just getting to know the different sports and athletes, we also want to talk about the different areas and fields involved in sports, in the sports world. So, one of those is sports media, or more specifically, for today's episode, we'll be talking about sports reporting. Joining us is the former courtside reporter of the NU Bulldogs and NU Lady Spikers, and former anchor of the MPBL, one of my good friends ever since we were kids, Mr. Dyp Dypiangco. Dip, really appreciate it. Thanks for sharing your time.
Hey, what's up, man? Thank you for inviting me. Hello to everyone watching the Sports Season podcast, and thank you for having me.
Yes, sir. Okay, so obviously I'll start off by asking you how you are. I know you're working in a in kind of a different job now. So how's it been?
Yeah, ngayon, nabanggit mo nga na puro former. Former courtside, former anchor. Totoo yan. Kasi at present, hindi ko yun ginagawa. I'm not an on-cam talent. So, because of the pandemic, I had to shift to a different job muna. Nagko-corporate ako ngayon sa Signal. So, what I'm doing is, I'm a sports promo producer, which is basically in charge of mga plugs, mga production materials na ini-air sa TV, which is for PBA Rush and NBA TV Philippines. So, yun yung ginagawa ko ngayon. I write scripts. Sometimes I edit videos. More on behind the scenes nowadays. Pero yun, work from home pa rin naman kami.
Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll get into, I guess, how your work is going now, and like I guess how the past jobs you had helped in that work now. But I wanted to start off by going through your experience as a courtside reporter and your experience with the different sports that you were able to handle and that you're able to, I guess, report on and be involved in.
Yeah.
So we'll start off. Of course, we know that you've been in sports for a long time, ever since we were kids. But I wanted to start yung sa college na. So I guess for me personally and for everyone listening, I want to start yung sa courtside reporting and how what's it like? Parang what's the application process in being a courtside reporter for those who don't know?
Yeah, so for first and foremost, no, you have to have your CV prepared. Papasa mo lang 'yan. And then pag di ka pumasa sa first palang screening, edi sorry, hindi ka na pwede mag-proceed. And then once you get a call back, if they deem you as fit for, an auditions, then they'll give you a schedule. Then yun na, pakita ka na sa ABS or yeah, sa ABS kasi may hawak pa ng UAAP nun eh, diba? So, you show up, you do auditions, you talk about what you know about basketball, about the sport, and then they'll make you sample, do a little bit of delivery, how you present yourself on camera. So, medyo on the spot siya. 'Di ba? Hindi mo siya mape-prepare talaga kasi anything goes eh. Pwedeng kung ano-anong team yung ipa-report nila sa So dapat may baon ka talagang stuff about the UAAP and basketball.
So, do you have an idea of like how many? Because we know obviously there are only 8 that get chosen, but you know how many people apply for it every year?
I'm not sure about the exact number pero I think umaabot ng 200 people, I would say. Yung mga at least try to give their CVs and then also yun sa mismo auditions 100 plus yung pumupunta dun sa office mismo.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. So I saw your I think birthday mo yun yung Instagram post. Tama ba? Or baka basta yung about your story about the courtside reporting.
Yeah.
So I actually parang first time kong mabasa yun. I don't think hindi mo ata nakwento dati. So I wanted to ask about it na kung pwede may kwento yung originally kala mo hindi ka accepted. Tama ba?
Yeah. Tama. I'm not sure sa story ba yun or yeah, sa post ko nga ata.
Yeah.
Nung nag-shut down yung ABS-CBN.
Yeah, exactly.
So, ang nangyari doon, nakakatawa kasi nagbigay nga ako ng resume ko tapos yung mga iba kong friends na kilala kong nag-submit na rin, they got their schedule na. Sabi ko, bakit ako? Parang maayos naman yung mga nilagay ko doon. May enough knowledge ako about sports. Maayos naman yung academic background ko. Pero hindi nila ako tinatawagan. Tapos sila, meron na silang first round schedule. Sabi ko, parang may mali. So I called yung number na nakalagay dun sa, yung pinapakita sa commercials and everything. Tapos, tinanong ko, sabi ko, parang pwede po ba mag-inquire for my friend? Sabi ko. Kasi nag-submit po siya ng application pero hindi pa daw po siya nakakuha ng callback. Pero ako talaga yung friend, di ba? So, disguise ko lang yung sarili ko. Sabi ko, ano ba yung name niya? Sabi nung girl. Sabi ko, si Carlos Miguel Dypiangco po. Tapos sabi niya, sige, check ko lang Sabi niya, ha? Nag-send kami ng email sa kanya. Tapos, pwede paki-check na lang ulit. Isa-send ulit namin ngayon. So maya-maya nag-send na siya ng email, tapos nakuha ko na. Tapos sabi ko, actually, ako po talaga yun. Ako po talaga si Carlos Miguel de Piaco kasi nahihiya lang po ako kanina. Tapos tawa lang siya ng tawa kasi yun nga, sinabi ko nung una, friend. Then yun na yun, parang, nung nakuha ko ng email, I went there on my scheduled interview and auditions. Tapos it became, tuloy-tuloy na yun. I think 3 or 4 rounds until the end bago ako nakuha.
So, okay. Nakilala mo ba yung tinawagan mo after? Like when you're obviously, you were there for like 2 years, diba?
Yeah.
2 or 3 years,
I think
yeah.
I saw her like once. I forget na her name. Basta si ate
So,
from SNA.
so kasi part of your post was saying na parang, ano nga yun? Like you weren't sure if they actually sent you the email or parang because you called, they were like, okay, let's send it.
Yeah, baka mamaya parang nahiya na lang sila or something.
Yeah.
Di ko
So
talaga
never
alam
mo
if
na
nag-send
tanong.
sila. Kasi parang weird Tama naman yung nilagay kong email pero never nila, ewan ko, it's just, yung natutunan ko lang dun is if hindi ako tumawag, I wouldn't have gotten it. Kasi, alam mo yun, kung pinabayaan ko na lang, kung di ako
Yeah.
curious, bakit hindi ako nakakuha ng schedule, di walang nangyari sa akin. Pero yun,
So never mo
nakakatawa
na
lang
tanong
siya.
yun like in SNA kung
Never ko na
I don't
natanong.
know.
Although nakwento ko siya with some of the mentors that we had, yung mga sa auditions na. Sabi ko lang, Miss D, ganyan. Miss D, parang, actually, nung first tumawag pa ako sa office para lang i-follow up yung application ko kasi sila ganito, ganyan, biglang meron na silang schedule. Tapos wala. Baka hindi lang nila naalala talaga. Baka na-miss out lang nila ako at first. So, yun.
Yeah. Okay. So I want to know. Now I want to ask about your experience as a courtside reporter. So starting off by you getting assigned to NU.
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not your school. You're from UP and even from grade school at Ateneo, diba? So what was it like going to a school na you weren't really that familiar with? You were never not a school that you went to.
Yeah, obviously, I'm from UP, as you mentioned. Therefore, I wanted UP. Straight up. Like, I want to report for UP and because I think historically, wala pang male courtside ng UP ever. It's usually other schools. So, sabi ko, okay, ito yung target ko. Pero nung ina-announce na sa amin yung schools, dalawa kasi kami guys Si Migs Gomez yung isa, which
Yeah.
was for UE. But he's also from UP. So, ang nangyari na lang nun, nung ina-announce na sa amin na hindi kami for UP, parang napag-decide na lang namin na, okay bro, at least quits tayo. Pareho tayong hindi UP. Walang samaan ng loob. Kasi kung ikaw nag-UP, medyo bad trip ako sa'yo kasi gusto ko yan So, parang we just had our closure na it's okay, we're both in different schools. Okay na yan. Ako naman, for NU, ang explanation kasi sa akin, si Enzo Hoson was playing for them that time, which was our batchmate, diba? Si Enzo.
Yeah.
So parang sabi nila, magiging okay ka dito kasi may friends ka naman na. Tapos si Coach Jamike, long time coach din ng Ateneo. So medyo gets mo rin may Atenean blood or whatever. So ako parang excuse na lang nila yun para itapon ako sa ibang school. Pero I just bought it. Sabi ko, oo nga, Coach Jamike. I wanna meet him and of course Enzo, be reunited and all that. At saka, it's an experience, it's more of a, I don't know, hindi naman siya nagmamayabang or anything, but like, sabi nila, it's more of a compliment pa daw na pag sabi ng mga bosses to na, sige, ilalagay namin kayo sa ibang school kasi we trust you more. Na parang, pag nilagay namin kasi kayo sa iba, kaya nyo mag-adapt easily. Alam mo yun? Kasi if you were put in your school, medyo, okay, you'll attend the trainings easily, makakapunta ka after class. Pero imagine mo, if you go somewhere far pa and you really have to make time for that. So, yun yung parang naging mindset ko na lang when I was assigned to NU. Okay, I'm gonna take this as a challenge and, do my best to get close to the team kahit hindi ko siya school.
So what is it like? Ewan ko kung sensitive yung mga taga-NU about it, but diba there are jokes about NU na parang people don't even know where it is.
Yeah,
so,
yeah. Yeah,
so what
parati
was
yun.
it like? Yung first of all, how do you find it, and then like what was the experience like getting to know not just the team, I guess, but parang being part of the school? Kasi diba ganun yun? Parang you end up really cheering for the school or really being for them.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
I found it through Google Maps. Kasi sabay kami nag-commute ni Migs galing Katipunan, siya papuntang Legarda, UE. Ako naman sa Hoxton Street. So nahanap ko siya. Habang naglalakad literal na naka-Google Maps ako kasi nga hindi ko alam saan ako pupunta. But yeah, it's legit. I found it. I've been inside and it's a nice school. How I got close to them, syempre at first medyo hirap ka pa, parang di mo alam ugali nila or something like that. You don't go there. It's a different culture, diba? But it helped that, like what I mentioned earlier, si Enzo nandun. So, may mga madali niya ako napakilala. Tapos yung captain that time was JJ Alejandro. Sobrang welcoming. So, parang tropa lang. Ang nakakatawa lang dyan is when I got introduced, Coach Jamike being Coach Jamike, joke right away, sabi niya, parang, ikaw ba yung courtside namin? Di ba, bakit parang babae yung hinihintay namin? Ba't ikaw yung dumating? Tapos, parang nakwento ni JJ later on na the past two courtsides kasi parang they had boyfriends na mga players. So sabi ni
Okay.
JJ, so ikaw pala yung magiging girlfriend ko, sabi niya sa akin. So yun yung naging joke kasi nga, it's been a while since they had a male courtside reporter or baka nga I'm the first. I'm not sure.
And actually, parang I noticed din. I know when we were younger, there were a few male courtside reporters, but before you guys, parang there's a long time na it was all female.
Yeah, yung parang mga talagang tumatak si Nico Ramos and Aaron Ataide.
And they
But
were way
after
back,
that,
diba?
tagal
Yeah.
na rin. So after that, it was a while. Kaya for me and Migs, I can speak for him also, parang we wanted to, try to break the stereotype na,
Yeah.
we can still be in that scene also.
Yun nga, going back to NU, you yourself being a former athlete and you getting to know the team, getting to know the players, did you ever, I don't know, try to join their training?
Shooting lang pag may time. Tsaka mga pumapasa lang ng bola, ganyan, taga-abot ng bola. Pero never ako nagbihis na maglalaro ako with them. Baka pag alis ko ng gym, pasa-pasa na ako kasi kita mo naman yung mga katawan nila, 'di ba? Bato-bato sila eh. So, never ako nag-dare to try. With volleyball, nakikipalo lang din ako minsan.
That's what I was
Ganyan.
gonna ask. Okay. Okay.
Tsaka before game, yan. May one time sa Araneta na nakikipag-warm up ako sa nila. Kasi ang tagal ng game before us.
Okay din eh, though. I mean, nung bata tayo, we were always dreaming of playing in Araneta, diba? So, mga shoot nga
Exactly.
lang, okay na din.
Exactly. Pero kami, I mean, we had the chance to actually play there kasi may UAAP Goodwill Games na tinatawag.
Okay.
So, parang may team yung ABS Sports. So, pinalaro kami one time. So, yun.
Musta naman? I mean, like, what's the court like, honestly? Parang Blue Eagle ba na
Actually,
mahirap
ang bigat
magbasket?
eh. Nabibigatan ako, honestly. So, or baka hindi lang talaga ako sanay. Baka ang dami kasing seats and everything. Parang nape-pressure ako kahit walang tao.
Yeah,
Kahit
yeah.
walang nanonood. Pero, masaya siya. I mean, it's an experience. Tapos, syempre, after that, shower pa kami sa dugout. Kunwari, parang feel namin na player talaga kami. But yeah, it was fun. Tapos na-injure si Migs. It was an
Okay.
experience.
Yeah. Okay. So, going back to your experience as a basketball player, how much or to what extent do you think it helped you as a courtside reporter?
So much. I think because I played the game it was very natural for me to talk about the sport. Parang hindi ko siya hinuhulaan when I report. Parang onting detalye lang yung kailangan ko. And then I get to explain it in my own terms. That's the advantage of, playing the sport. Like what I said kanina ngayon nga. Ay, nabanggit mo pala na I played since grade school. So, kumbaga, it's in your nature na to
Yeah.
explain the game, 'di ba? Ang challenge lang dun is how to explain it in the simplest terms pa for the viewers, 'di ba? Kasi may mga technical terms na hindi mo naman pwedeng or hindi siya masyadong pang TV when you
Mm-mm.
mention it. Kaya you have to explain it and word it differently. But yeah, super, super. Uh, I mean, kung hindi man natupad yung pagiging player ko, I was able to bring everything I learned from those years dito sa broadcasting.
Yeah. No, okay. I want to go into the because I know you and the other courtside reporters are very close. But
Mm.
I'm going to get into that detail later. What I want to ask Muna is, considering you know all of them and you got close to all of them, and were all of them familiar also with basketball? And would you say it's really a requirement in going to courtside, or is it something that parang kaya naman i-pick up on the job or before the season?
Well, definitely if you have knowledge about the sport, that's a plus. If you've played the sport, for sure, that's a plus. But for majority of the court sides, which are women nga, syempre, hindi naman lahat din nakapaglaro ng basketball or like knew the sport well. But what helps is their, I mean, I don't know, cliche, but it's really their passion to learn. Kasi, alam mo yun, pag wala kang gana to learn the sport, walang mangyayari sa'yo. It will show in your reports. And luckily for both my batches, yung mga nakasama ko, had that fire also in them. Either naging fans sila of kahit isang team lang yan. Like may isa akong courtside si Sid for FEU, Sydney Crespo. She's a fan of Ginebra. So hindi niya kilala lahat ng teams, but because she's a fan of Ginebra, meron siyang ambag at
Yeah.
parang meron siya pinaghuhugutan ng love for the sport. So yun, parang it's a plus, but it's not a requirement.
Gets. Okay. Know that basketball is obviously for the first sem, but second sem you guys go on to volleyball. And as far as I know, wala ka namang experience except yung intrams natin. So, how, and tama ba, you also anchored on a football game, I think.
Yeah,
I remember you mentioning it before. Yeah. So how did you adjust to these other sports that you weren't naman familiar with or you didn't have experience with?
Well, volleyball naman aside from our intrams na nung grade 7 tayo, co-curricular activity ko siya. So,
ganun ba?
Oo, nag-volleyball club. At saka, can I just say and brag about it na nung graduate tayo ng grade school, co-curricular awardee ako for volleyball club. Ewan ko bakit sa akin in-award yun. Pero, yun. Meron naman ako konting experience playing it. But in terms of reporting, it's a different animal as they would say. Kasi iba yung atake mo eh. Basketball is, it's a fast-paced game. Volleyball is also, pero medyo depende rin sa haba ng rally eh. Depende sa, the game could last 3 sets to 5 in between, di ba? Minsan, akala mo tapos na yung game, bigla may comeback pa. So, kailangan yung energy mo sustained. Hindi kagaya ng basketball na alam mong matatapos siya minsan nag-overtime, but again, bihira. Pero yung volleyball, kailangan lagyan mo ng kakaibang creativity in terms of reporting. Kasi ang turo sa amin dyan, if it's volleyball usually, because the athletes are, I don't know, parang medyo nagiging celebrities na rin sila, diba? So,
For sure.
you have to put some human aspect when it comes to reporting. Like, people wanna know like what their likes are and then what their pre-game rituals are. Mostly, sino yung closest nila sa team. Mga ganyang bagay. It's not really the technical stuff. Kasi they see it na eh. Like, and during timeouts, sinasabi na rin ng coach yung mga nangyayari. Parang ito yung gagawin mo, ito yung gagawin mo. So pag inulit mo lang yun sa report, walang bago. Therefore, wala kang bagong na contribute sa conversation. But if you tell them, like for example, I remember one report of mine. If you tell them that the girls had their hairs colored all at the same time because they feel like it's some sort of rejuvenation dahil they were going on a losing streak. So sabihin mo, itong mga napansin niyo, focus, tas sasabihin mo yan in the pre-production, you tell your direct parang i-focus natin yung mga buhok nila mamaya kasi may report ako about this. So, it becomes a story then, di ba? Parang planted siya but at the same time, yung story nanggagaling sa'yo na parang kasi ganito yan, bago yung kulay ng buhok nila kasi 7-game losing streak na sila. Kailangan nila ng pagbabago in their routine or whatever, di ba? So parang ganun. And that, I think, that adds excitement to the game.
Okay, so pero yung naalala ko kasi yung kwento mo dati was when you were about to anchor for football, nag-FIFA ka ng sobra.
Yeah, for football naman is also different kasi when I anchored, it was live stream. I was alone. So medyo ako rin yung analyst. Parang ako na yung anchor, ako pa yung analyst. But obviously, hindi naman ako, like you mentioned, yung experience ko was for intrams. Pero ang ginagawa ko nun, yun, naglaro ako ng FIFA, yung mga terms tinatanong ko sa mga football friends natin, yung mga naglaro before. So yun. Pero it was a fun experience kasi it's always a challenge eh. Parang minsan mas masaya pa mag-cover ng hindi mo alam kasi mas marami ka natututunan in the process. Yun. Tsaka iba rin pag naka-goal. Iba yung sigaw mo pag may naka-goal eh. Compared to when someone scores a 3-pointer. I don't know.
Yeah, because it's so much more, syempre,
it's rare.
1-0 lang naman, yeah.
yeah. Yun.
Okay. So you were, I don't want to say naman it's rare, but it's not that assured na you get kept on next year. Like there are some reporters that go 1 year, there's some that go more. And you were one of the ones that did you were a courtside reporter for 2 years. So first of all, did you know that you were going to be kept on? Like when did they let you know?
So I think season ended it ends usually May of the year. So there's June, there's July. June, July, hindi mo pa alam. Parang talagang off season, you don't know what's going on, ano pinag-uusapan ng mga tao in the production. Hindi mo alam eh. Like, wala kang idea if you're gonna get back, honestly. Like, even if you think you did well, if you think you did not do well and then they got you back, who knows what their criteria is, diba?
Yeah.
So parang, for me, you just have to really give your best every report para wala kang pagsisisi. Kasi sinasabi nila sa amin parati. And I believe in this na you're only as good as your last report. If you are good in this game and then the next game, ang pangit ng ginawa mo, yun yung maaalala ng mga tao. Diba? Come next game na ang sama nung report niya last game. They won't say na, maganda naman yung report niya last game eh. Diba? They won't say that. So, kailangan every report mo talaga, you give your A game para mapabalik ka. But to answer your question, there's no clear cut idea how you would know paano ka makakabalik. It's just, nasa sa kanila yun. Iba-ibang factors like if you're graduating na rin or if your school, I don't know, wants someone new, parang ganun. Depende talaga.
Okay. Okay. What would you say is the difference yung sa first year mo and sa second year? Like, I'm sure sa first year mo parang kabado. And like, yung first report, I guess, would be like, it's crazy. Parang, who would have thought, diba, na you would be at this moment and then it gets more natural eventually, I would guess. But like, what is the experience like?
Wow. Comparing my first year to my second, medyo nakakahiya yung first year ko, I would say. Parang, I think I did decent, but when I compare it to my second year, ibang-iba talaga. Yung confidence ko, the way I delivered my words, parang nung first year ko, parang hinahabol ako parate. Nagmamadali ako matapos yung report ko. Medyo, my voice has a tendency to be monotonous kasi mababa. So, medyo straight line siya minsan, ganyan. So, natutunan ko na yun in the second year na parang I have to put like, like ups like that and then downs like this. So parang ganun. But I've had more bloopers also in my first year. Like may times na hindi pa tapos, nasa camera pa ako tapos lumingon na ako sa gilid. So hinila nila ako pabalik. Parang, uy, nasa camera ka pa. Tapos may isang report ako din na parang naging super redundant. Like parang I said like, yeah, Coach Jamaic said that defense is the key to this game. That's why the Bulldogs will play defense. So in the end, defense talaga ang magpapanalo sa kanila. Parang paulit-ulit ko sinabi yung defense, which is, I don't know if people noticed, but yun, sa akin kasi, if you're the one, mostly also, not just in broadcasting, minsan yung mga pagkakamali natin tayo lang naman yung nakakapansin. So,
That's true.
yun. Yun. You just fake it till you make it. But yeah, second year was a lot better.
Yeah. Okay. What about your experience working with, guys that we've been listening to since we were, I don't know, grade school pa siguro, since we were grade school, no? Like Boom Gonzalez, Miko Halili. What was the experience meeting them? Kasi alam ko yung first time mo ma-meet, nag-post ka pa about it, may back to boom ka pang caption. But,
Yeah.
what was it like working with them throughout those 2 years?
Wow. It was a dream come true, really. That's how it felt like. Like these are guys that you grew up watching, you idolized, and the voices that you hear throughout the time that you watched the league, diba? Tapos biglang sasabihin ka na, okay, you're a courtside reporter, you get to work alongside these guys. They're gonna mention your name on television. They're gonna be your colleagues, basically. So parang, damn, like that's my reaction. Like this is a dream. But at some point, you have to break that line. You have to treat them as normal people dahil hindi naman sila mga, mga Diyos, di ba? Para i-worship or something. Like hands down sa kanila kasi idol talaga sila. Pero hindi sila pwedeng forever na parang lumuluhod ka sa kanila kasi you have to be in the same level as them, di ba? You're one team. So, I forget this quote, basta parang kailangan talaga you treat them as your colleagues kasi if hindi, then you'll never be in their level also. Alam mo yun? If you're always gonna put them on a pedestal, then it's always gonna be like that. You're always gonna be the one under. So, of course, your goal is not to take away their job or replace them, but rather be in the same level as them. So, yun.
So, okay, we know obviously sila Boom, sila Miko, but was there anyone I don't know kung like relatively new or relatively young in the industry or what, but was there anyone who we didn't really know or hear about so much or too well, but you would consider na parang really had an impact or really taught you a lot?
Taught me a lot. It's really the guys there na eh. Yung mga, kasi halos sila na rin yung running the league for a long time eh. But if someone I look up to and nagagalingan ako and I've said this before in other interviews na si Nico Ramos, na aliw talaga ako with his commentating because it's very unique. His choice of words, his timing, his wit is different. It's not the usual. So, yun, natutuwa ako. Pero equally naman, they help us kasi tuwing games, when we do our pre-production nga, they give their tips and all that. So, tapos pag nasa office din kami, when we do have our trainings and workshop, tumutulong din sila. So, yan. The guys you mentioned, sila yun.
Yeah. Okay. So I mentioned courtside reporters seem to be really close. Parang you're also like in a way a team in your own right. So could you tell us more about how that dynamic worked amongst you guys? Parang you're kind of opponents, but you're also not, in a sense. So what was the dynamic like? What was it like working with all of them?
Yeah, you're right. Technically, magkakalaban kami. We're all, competition amongst each other. Pero outside naman, of course, we have our personal lives. We go out, especially sa simula, pag hindi pa busy, pag hindi pa rin Hell Week also in school kasi syempre during college to eh. And then we all have our, we have our personal relationships with each other. Tsaka, some of them now, until now, nakakausap ko pa rin. Kasi may mga pinagsamahan. We'd go out before, we'd watch the games together. And then some of them after naman, nakatrabaho ko pa in MPBL. So, it's kumbaga pamilya. Pamilya yung turing. As long as you don't get too into it nga na maging competition parate or like kalaban mo to. Kasi tulungan din naman kami to survive and to get hopefully a second year. Kaya yun.
Yeah.
Pero yeah, shout out to Migs, my brother. Kasi siya talaga, siya talaga yung from start to finish kasama ko.
So yeah, and Migs was, I'm not sure how many of you were kept on for the second year, but I
Three.
know Migs was one of them. Okay, three of you. So yun nga, okay, from that, first year mo, all of you were first timers, I think. All of you were rookies.
Yeah.
And then so sa second year mo, the three of you, there were three of you that were kept on. So was there a difference in dynamic with when you were in a way like a veteran na? Like were people like, kasi nung first year mo parang all of you were new to it. But then this second year, were the new ones kind of looking to the three of you for guidance, for advice?
Yeah, definitely. Parang ang dating namin nung second year, very kuya and ate na kami. At saka, well, mas bata yung mga pumalit sa iba. May freshman pa na isa. So parang kuya talaga, literal na kuya yung tawag sa amin at ate. So we had to play that role. And it was very, of course, fulfilling kasi, I mean, you've only been in the industry for a year. I wouldn't say na I'm like super, super good already. I'm learning every day. But there are things naman na I learned in my first year that I could share to them, which would help them eventually. So, yun, parang we took that role as parang mentors in a way. Pero more of like kuya na lang kasi medyo extreme level na yung mentor. Parang kuya, yeah, we're helping them with the tips. Lalo na pag games, if may mga mali silang sinabi or something they could improve on, you tell them properly. Hindi yung parang sisiraan mo na, yun na nga, parang magsisiraan kayo na ang pangit ng report, ganyan. Bakit ganyan yung sinabi niya? You confront them, you tell them straight up in their face na, this is what you do, this is what you can improve on. Maybe you could look at this angle para maiba siya. So yun.
Okay. You already mentioned kanina how some of them were with you in MPBL, but before we get to that, I guess yung last question about the UAAP was, what was it like yung sa Cheerdance competition? Like you had to dress up and everything, and I don't know, but like it's like there's another level of energy that comes to the courtside reporters when they have to introduce their team. So could you, I guess, tell us about the preparation, the experience?
Next question na lang, next question. Next question na lang, pwede ba yan? Yeah, dude, like Cheerdance, man, may imagine mo bang magsusot ako, ikaw as my friend, as my former teammate, na imagine mo ba magsusot ako ng ganun sa gitna ng Mall of Asia Arena? I don't think so. So,
Gosh, yeah.
Same bro. Like, I never imagined I'd wear those tights and Pep Squad uniform, but you gotta do what you gotta do. You gotta get paid. Pero, it was fun. Like, unexpectedly, yung energy ko was there. Kasi, imbis nakabahan ako in front of 20,000 people, it became more of like my source of energy na, okay, you have to do your best. Hindi ka pwedeng pumiyok. Yun yung pinaka-fear naming mga courtside. Hindi ka pwedeng pumiyok. Hindi mo pwedeng makalimutan yung sasabihin mo. Dapat ma-hype mo talaga sila. So, masaya siya for me. Especially in my second year. Kasi nag-champion yung NU. So, super saya namin. Iba yung celebration. And I had to get that win. Kasi nung first year ko, they were going for 5-peat. Hindi nila nakuha. So parang ang dating is some of the fans were like saying malas ata yung Courtside, ganyan. So parang hindi. We have to win the year after. Pero yun, it was, and also I just want to share also yung mga athletes mismo, the cheer dancers. They aren't humans. They are sila yung mga Diyos actually. Sila yung mga, kasi if you go to their training, grabe bro. Like, patayan talaga. I mean, people get hurt, they get injured, pero laban lang. And imagine getting tossed up in the air for like, gaano
Yeah.
kataas yun, di ba? Tapos tumatumbling-tumbling ka. Ang sakit ng katawan mo just watching them. But, and for them to train that long, that intense for one performance, which could, make or break during that competition, 'di ba? Isang performance lang 'yun eh. But the whole year they prepare for that. So sobrang na-amaze ako sa kanila. Galing. Especially NU. Ha.
Okay, may naisip lang ako about UAP again. So, I'm sure there's a struggle with I'm sure there was already a struggle with you, like as an Atenean and a UP alumni. Parang who are you gonna cheer for? Now you add the NU factor. So how does that work with courtside reporters, especially when you're reporting for schools that you didn't really go to? Parang who do you end up cheering for?
Yeah, honestly, when I was reporting for NU talaga ako all the way. For the record, like I never answer it when people ask me. Lalo na sa UP pag tinatanong ako, hindi ko sasagutin. Pero now, I can say kasi tapos na yung stint ko eh. NU talaga ako noon. Like, wala akong pake sa UP na. Sorry. Parang, basta manalo NU kasi, manalo NU. Edi more games for me, more exposure for me. Selfish ako eh. Bakit ba? Pero, after, of course, when they got eliminated, when UP entered the Final Four, that's a different story. I started wearing maroon to the games. And people were noticing na parang, uy, ba't ka naka-maroon? Di ba parang, di ka dapat nag-cheer for UP. Pero, kidding aside, it was a tough choice. Pero parating lumalamang yung NU. Kasi doon ako naka-attach sa kanila for that season.
Yeah.
And then
Kasi parang
UP,
you're part
of
of the
course.
season, eh.
Yeah, exactly. And then UP came next kasi underdogs. And Ateneo is, kahit na pinakamatagal ako nag-aral, wala, parating champion. So, para maiba naman. Kaya yan.
True. Okay, so now we'll move on nga to the MPBL. I've been watching a lot of Mikey Reyes' channel. Solid content. And parang that's where I first
Agree.
learned na parang there's two different roles to the commentators. I did not know
Yeah.
about that before. And you mentioned it kanina, yung anchor and yung analyst. Tama. Okay.
Right.
So, and the anchor is the one na parang narrator. And yung analyst, yung parang expert ng sport. Kind of like that, basically. Diba?
Yes.
And when you got to the MPBL, you started out as a courtside reporter, and then you eventually made your way to to become a commentator. And you were a anchor.
Anchor na ako nag-start actually. Hindi na ako nag-courtside sa MP.
Okay, so what was it like? I guess what was the difference? Or was there an adjustment from courtside in the UAP to being an anchor in MPBL?
It's totally different. Totally different jobs. But equally difficult, I would say. Because courtside, you report for how many seconds lang and you have to get your message across well. You have to make a mark in that period. Baka nga sabihin ka pa, mas madali pa yung commentator kasi you have the entire game to set up your story. You have 40 minutes to build on the conflict, kung ano yung nangyayari, kung ano yung numbers. Wala kang pressure eh kasi you have 40 minutes to spread out all the things you have to say. But in terms of adjustment, yun yung mahirap kasi mas nakakapagod siya dahil yun nga, whole game ka nagsasalita. Hindi ka pwede maubusan ng sasabihin. At the same time, kailangan mabilis yung utak mo tsaka yung mata mo. Gumagana lahat. Basically, pag nakaupo ka doon sa anchor chair mo, 100%, more than 100% dapat gumagana yung utak mo, pati yung mata mo, yung tenga mo. Kasi hindi lang yan sa game eh. Like, even the crowd, stuff can happen sa audience.
Yeah.
You can, parang makita mo sa peripheral vision mo, may nangyayari dun sa sideline, biglang may nagkakagulo pala. Hindi pwede mong sabihin yun. Bakit nangyayari yun? Kasi sobrang intense na pala ng game, di ba? People watching through their television don't really hear what's happening inside or they don't feel the atmosphere, gaano kainit or gaano kalamig, di ba? So you describe those things. Kaya yun.
So do you, I don't know, is there one that you would prefer or over the other?
Commentating is really, 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 really fun. And you sit down on a chair for the entire game. You just talk about what's happening in front of you. So super fun. I mean, it's nice that you get to hear yourself also after. Parang more than that, nakikwento mo rin kasi yung mga alam mo eh. I always say that going on air is a privilege. And for your voice to be heard and hopefully deserve to be heard for that long, diba? You make the most out of it. And you make it worthwhile for the viewers. You always find a way to elevate your coverage. Kasi pag paulit-ulit, wala namang masama sa paulit-ulit. I mean, kung consistent ka, good. But try to find ways to inject something new every now and then. So yun yung parang doon ako nag-enjoy na parang every game is different. Diba? Pwede mong ulit-ulitin yung lines mo and then biglang suddenly pag may highlight na sobrang kakaiba like 360 fadeaway dunk. Parati yan sinasabi. Baka may iba kang masabi, diba? So for me, I prefer commentating.
Okay. So there's courtside reporter, there's anchor, there's analyst. But you were an anchor on MPBL. But
Mm-hmm.
I know you would appear on like the score on some other sports programs as an analyst naman. So how parang what's the work like? Like one night you're commentating on a game, you're narrating the game, but then you're also having to analyze or you're having to look into, I don't know, the stats ba or what of the MPBL. So what does your analyst na off air kind of like?
Well, it helps that I have worked with the likes of Coach Ronnie Magsanok, Coach Leo Isaac, sino ba yung mga analyst na nakatrabaho? Yan sa MPBL, sila Coach Putit, everyone there. Sila Coach Christian Luanzon, diba? Super gagaling na mga tao. And in terms of numbers, parati sila may baon. So, pagkatabi mo sila for the entire game, matututo ka talaga. Like, makita mo yung papel nila. You'll be curious also. You'll ask them, parang, Coach, what does this mean? Bakit importante yung ganitong numbers? So, you bring that to the table when you try to be an analyst also. Parang, in turn, alam mo na kung ano yung importanteng dapat mong sabihin. But at the same time, you don't lose your hat as an anchor na parang you're there for the energy also and for the stories. So you try to mix them up. Hindi naman siya ganun kahirap kasi nagagawan mo ng kwento and I mean, if you watch the games and if you cover it personally, you'll understand what's going on. So yun. Hindi naman siya may ganun kahirap.
Okay, so with all your experience with the MPBL, I know we've asked this before. I'm sure, a lot of us of your old teammates have asked na parang, kaya ba namin? Kaya ba namin makapasok or like, would we be able to survive? And parang, I know you've talked about how the quality is actually really, really good. It's really, really good basketball. And I guess, parang what would you say about the players there? How many of them could actually make it to the PBA or should actually be in the PBA? And why are a lot of them, parang why are the players choosing to go there first or choosing to go there instead?
Well, for starters, that's a good question kasi ang daming layers eh. Like, meron dyan yung mga homegrown players na taga dun talaga sa city. Never had an opportunity to play for big colleges. Never had the chance to show their skills in the mainstream leagues. So yun yung chance nila para magpakitang gilas. And then there are those naman who came from the college, big to the known colleges, but ayaw mo na magpa-draft or baka hindi na draft. And then there are those also galing sa pros. Diba?
Yeah.
I'd categorize them into three siguro yan. The homegrowns, the ones na were able to play in UAAP, NCAA, and other kilalang leagues, and then the pros. And the quality is really good. So for me, kumbaga may binatbat siya eh. Like, yung physikalan, ibang klase. Hindi naman siya negative na parang nagsasakitan or anything. Talagang it's Filipino basketball. Like, talagang out-muscling each other and patayan sa bola, dive kung dive, diba? talagang protektahan mo yung city mo. And I guess now, for example, pag ni-review mo yung draft class, ang dami from MPBL will try to go up sa professional. Si Gab Banal, who was drafted
Yeah.
before, became an MVP in MPBL. Now he just signed with Alaska. So
Yeah.
parang it's really a chance for you to showcase your talent pa rin. Hindi mo siya pwedeng sabihin na ay mas mababang league to. Baka kasi hindi ka lang nabibigyan ng minutes. Pero pag napagbigyan ka ng pagkakataon, then you'll land a contract like Gab. Like no doubt people will notice you and people will want you. So there are a lot of intangibles naman na hinahanap ng other teams eh. So for me, MPBL with the exposure that it gets is a good place for players to really, showcase what they got. So watch
Okay.
MPBL.
They're coming back.
Supportahan niyo yung
Tama ba?
bubble in case ma-approve na talaga.
Okay. What's this? I had Zir Vasho and Beatan as guests last year, and so we were talking about Beach Volleyball Republic. So, and I know that you were able to comment anchor din, diba? You were able to anchor in one of their tours.
Yeah.
What was that experience like? And parang, did you think that you were gonna go back to volleyball eventually?
Volleyball, yes. Beach volleyball, no. Like, that's a different pa eh, diba? Parang, hindi mo na nga alam yung volleyball, nilagay ka pa sa beach volleyball. Pero at least, may beach, diba? Kaya parang na-excite
Yeah.
ako sa idea. I got tapped kasi, yun nga, they needed the guy to do, sa Boracay ito, yung first ko na nag-commentate. And then, I also got to join them sa sa Surigao. Sorry, sa Surigao.
Yeah.
Yeah, sa Surigao. I was parang covering for them also. Practically the same except it's more they have different terms kasi yung rules medyo iba yung rules sa beach volleyball tapos yung
Yeah.
mga terms for the attacks iba-iba rin. So I had to study that. Yun naman din kasi yung yung technique eh. Parang mag-aaral ka eh. Kung hindi ka prepared for any coverage, like even if you already know the sport, you still have to study before each game. It's part of the job. So let's say you get paid after each game. You don't really get paid just for the game. You also get paid for your preparation the day before, a couple of days before, maybe the week before. So that's added work. And it pays off kasi like yun nga, sa beach volleyball, before I went to Boracay, I had to study the terms. I watched highlights. I asked my friends who play beach volleyball. So, yung roommate ko sa Boracay, si Doc AJ, volleyball player and beach volleyball player na rin siya. So, I asked him ano yung mga terms, ganyan. Nagpatulong talaga ako sa kanya. So, like what I said kanina, it's a challenge but it's minsan sila yung mas masasayang i-cover. Kasi hindi mo masyado gamay. So, you're
Yeah.
learning as you speak.
And parang,
Yeah.
ewan ko, parang I would say mas mai-impress ka. Like, as opposed to like, someone who's familiar with the sport. It's more exciting, I guess.
Parang in a way, mas natural yung reaction mo. Kasi parang,
Yeah.
oh, it's my first time to see this kind of a hit. Unlike a layup which you've seen how many times, 'di ba? Parang times 'di ba yung layup parang hindi naman talaga sobrang exciting pero kailangan mo siyang gawing exciting. But in other sports, beach volleyball for example, if like someone dives sa sand and you didn't expect them to get that ball, parang wow, mapapawaw ka talaga, 'di ba? Kaya nakaka-amaze siya.
Parang yung tipong like for us, spin move sa covered courts. Pero pag, if it's for a new person watching basketball, it's really like a wow.
Yeah. Yeah, what a move, diba? Oh my God, how did he do that? Pero spin move lang pala siya. So, yun.
Okay. Before we go to the last questions, I have a short segment called Change Court, Change Sport. And I'm going to add a few layers kasi short sport ka naman. So, your first question is, what is a sport that you've always wanted to try? Parang like wala lang, naisip mo lang like that's something that I might wanna try one day.
Like I've never tried it or I wanna be serious about?
Let's go with both. One of each.
Okay. Pinahirapan ko pa yung sarili ko. Something I've never tried but parang interesting is, I don't know, baseball. Like never
Okay.
ako talaga pumalo in a field, whatever.
Pero
Pero
naging manager ka, I joke, football pala yun.
football ako eh. Pero I've played like baseball games sa PlayStation. So parang
Yeah.
exciting siya. Parang pag pumalo ka or pag sumalo ka. Yun, exciting siya. I would have said like hockey or ano, pero wala. Masyado tayong thin frame for that. Baka mabali yung boto ko. So I'll go with baseball.
Okay. Well, and yung something that you've tried.
Something
pero
I've tried
serious.
and then be serious about. I'd say like football. Feel ko kaya ko mag-football. Yan. Kasi nag-FIFA naman ako at saka nag-cover ako ng football. So yan. I feel like if, I don't know, I started on early, baka I could have learned some tricks here and there. So yan.
Okay. Who here in the Philippines, who is your favorite athlete but not from basket? Actually, hindi. Marami ka ng sport eh. So let's take out basketball and volleyball.
Favorite athlete?
Yeah, different. Not those sports.
Oh my gosh, that's quite hard. That's difficult, huh? Bawal basket at volley?
Yeah.
Tas local athlete?
Mo na eh.
Tas local athlete? Shocks, ang hirap niya na. Parang medyo nagli-lean towards Harvey Gayoso ako eh. Idol ko yun eh. Tsaka batchmate natin yun eh. So I have to give some props to the guy.
Of course.
My second choice, I would have said like nag-second choice pa yun. In-interview mo si Alex Ayala kasi she's doing so well. Dude. Like she's gonna like make so many Filipinos proud. She already is making us proud.
And so, she's so young.
Exactly, 'di ba? So, yun.
Okay. So those are my usual questions. Pero since nasa reporting ka, I wanted to add a few. So, as a reporter naman or as a commentator, what is a sport that you think would be fun to commentate? Like, wala na, parang nakita mo like that's something if you, I guess, got to know it or got to study it, like you said, parang that's something that I would want to commentate on.
Also here in the country, no? Something that I would commentate on is gymnastics.
Wow.
I think.
Okay.
I think it's fun. Naaliw ako sa mga terms eh. Tsaka yung mga twist and turns, mga tumbling 360, mga corkscrew, mga ganyan-ganyan. I feel like I could use a lot of adjectives for their performances. So, exciting siya. Tsaka kasi, nung napanood ko yung SEA Games, I remember...
Si Carlos Yulo. Tama.
Yeah. Tapos we hosted it. Okay. And there was, I forget na what channel, basta medyo yung kinuha nilang analyst, parang pare-pareho yung sinasabi niyang word. So parang, I think, pwede niyang medyo i-improve yung choice of words niya.
Yeah.
So, feel like there's a lot you can explore on. So, yan. Gymnastics.
Okay. And last for this segment, okay, yun yung gusto mo, but what do you think is the next sport that will get TV time? Because, okay, obviously, basketball sobrang tagal na. We've been having it. And then, volleyball caught up. Tapos, pinaka-recent nga yung football started getting more TV time. This is based on UAAP at least. Mm-hmm. So, what do you think is the next sport that's bound to get more TV time?
I feel like if Alex Ayala is making waves, then tennis could get some airtime. Yun naman yun eh. If someone is like doing well also overseas, parang people will demand, like, you know how 3D is playing in Japan and people, and I mean, we actually got coverage for that.
We have the V-League started airing it, no?
Yeah, tapos we have a Filipino commentator, I think, in Anthony Suntay, who covers it. So parang just for one player. So if Alex Ayala is an international icon in tennis, then I'm sure people will want to watch her. Yun. And people will idolize her, so people will want to play that sport. Yun.
Okay. Okay. So last few questions. personally, I guess to you, are you closing your door on coming back or making a comeback or on reporting in general in the future?
Actually, walang pintuan, bro. Hindi ko pinabaklas ko na yung pinto. Ayoko siyang isara. It's a wide open passage for me. Once na mag-resume yung sports, I really wanna go back to commentating. This hits close to my heart because very ano siya eh. I've sobrang how many months na ako nagre-reflect on it. And yeah, I mean, we're good friends. So like, kwento ko na lang din na yun nga, talagang I, I was going to, my plan was to stay there and, make my way up. And I had that sort of like momentum going for me na tuloy-tuloy naman yung MPBL, if hindi nagkaroon ng pandemic and all that, tuloy-tuloy siya. So I feel like, I would have like improved more, I would have done more, pero natigil siya. And then nag-shutdown pa yung ABS, so double whammy. So I really had to make a career move. Yun lang. So parang for me, I'm not closing, like what I said, walang pinto. It's very much open. So I wanna go back. Yun na yun. Yun yung point ko. Like, once na pwede, and if people or like if MPBL or other leagues would think that I'm still, I can do the job for them, then like I would gladly go back and commentate for them.
Okay.
Yeah.
And this all started nga naman with, aside from syempre yung hosting gig mo nung high school, it started with the courtside reporting. So now that unfortunately na wala na nga yung ABS, do you think that the networks that picked up the other sports, the UAP and NCA, so GMA and TV5, do you think they should keep doing the courtside program? Continue kasi parang hindi na naman pwedeng nakawin, but like, do you think that they should have their own program like that?
Definitely. It was a question up in the air for all of us na parang, paano na yung courtside? Like, paano na yung mga naudlot yung season nung nagkaroon ng pandemic if they have their second year pa sana, di ba? So, we were saying, and I believe naman na dapat kunin pa rin nila yung college kasi I mean, UAAP, for example, iba-iba naman yung market but these are college students playing. So, it would be nice to get mga reporters pa rin who are in college. At the same time, we're training them. They could be your future talents, which have been done by ABS ever since they started that program. There have been a lot of household names na that came from courtside, diba? So, for me, okay siya. But then, kanya-kanyang strategy kanya-kanyang marketing and how they wanna format it. And, the courtside reporters in PBA are also really good. So, I mean, if they are the courtsides of UAAP, why not also? Because they're so good, diba? Parang sobrang ganda rin ng kalalabasan. So, depende na lang how they'll view it. Pero for me, maganda pa rin na magkaroon ng programa na for students to do courtside.
And I guess to add to that, then parang not just household names in ABS, because like a lot of courtside reporters went on to the other networks also, diba? And they started reporting networks. And
also radio, mga ganyan, iba-iba.
Okay, so last question na lang. I guess parang tips na rin or whatnot. What else can aspiring sports reporters do aside from joining these courtside reporter programs and the like?
Yeah, you can personally like ang pwede mong gawin if you really wanna go for this is have as much knowledge about the sport and about broadcasting at the same time. Like, pag-aralin mo na, pagsabayin mo na, makinig ka. When you the next time you watch a game, don't just watch. Listen and really intently listen to the people talking and covering the game. Kasi magkaiba yung passive listening na parang naririnig mo lang yung ingay nila na parang pag naka-shot, wow, ganyan. 3-pointer, yes sir, gets it to go, diba? Pero if you intently listen, you'll realize, oh, this is why he said this. Like, parang, wow, ang galing. Ang ganda ng timing niya. Parang, if talagang na-realize mo, like may mga ganyang moments ako minsan pag pinapakinggan ko talaga sila. kasi nabanggit yan last game, tapos pinick up niya ulit this game. So parang continuous yung story. So the next time, really, that you watch on television, don't just watch. Like, listen to the stories, look at the angles, like paano nila pinag-uusapan yung players, ganyan-ganyan. Expand your vocabulary and practice sa mirror. It helps. Personally, ako not really sa mirror, but pag nagda-drive going to the venues, I talk to myself.
Yeah.
And I do mga exercises like talagang mga A-E-I-O-U ako sa kotse mag-isa. Tapos pinapractice ko yung reports ko minsan para dire-diretso. So those, parang if I'm gonna simplify it, yun. Listen intently, read more to expand your vocabulary and to know more about the sport. And then third is practice when you actually implement it. Para at least na-figure out mo paano yung register ng voice mo, paano yung lumalabas yung mga salita from your mouth. So yan. Yun lang naman.
All right.
And take all the
Okay.
opportunities. Take all the opportunities you can get. Audition, ask people, get to know them, join workshops. Dumadami na ata yung mga workshop ngayon for those types of things. Especially online. So yun.
All right. Okay. Once again, that was Mr. Dyp Dypiangco. Dyp, thanks so much for sharing a lot, sharing your experience, sharing your thoughts on all of these stuff.
Thank you so much, bro. Thank you for inviting me. Thank you guys for listening. Sports season. Woo!
Hey guys, thanks for tuning into this episode. Please don't hesitate to let us know in the comments what you thought about it, and I guess also what you think about the if GMA or TV5 should also have the courtside reporters or continue with the courtside program. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button, and thanks for tuning in.